stuff is credible. This has been vetted by outside people, and there's enough people out there saying, look, this guy isn't lying to us, even though mendacity is a key characteristic of diabolical narcissists. This guy is being straight in terms of this oeuvre that he has put together. It's extremely valuable. So like I said, he is credible. He has some significant blind spots, and we're going to go through each of those. But his website is samvak, SAMVAK .tripod, TRIPOD.com. He has a massive written oeuvre. He has a YouTube channel, and if you like video, he reads short essays, short pieces on video. So he has an entire video oeuvre. It's an excellent, excellent resource. We will begin by discussing narcissism in terms of contemporary baseline psychology. Now, baseline mainstream psychology is massively flawed, and I personally don't recommend that anyone even engage it at this point. I think there's some psychiatry when people have actual legitimate chemical problems in their brains that medicine can address, but then, you know, getting into the whole, and we will discuss this later, all of these antidepressants and so forth, that's quackery. But there is some legitimacy to medicine dealing with chemical processes in the brain. Put that over on the side. That's not what we're talking about. Let's talk about psychology. Psychology is massively flawed, but we'll start defining this in their terms just to get rolling. I'm going to lift from Vaknin here and use his definition of pathological narcissism. Quote, pathological narcissism is a lifelong pattern of traits and behaviors which signify infatuation and obsession with oneself to the exclusion of all others and the egotistic and ruthless pursuit of one's gratification, dominance, and ambition. Close quote. Fairly intuitive. I think a lot of us, if we were asked to define narcissism, would come up with something pretty close to that. The image of Narcissus staring at his own reflection, which is kind of the allegorical image of narcissism, and that is the root of the term, Narcissus, staring at his reflection in a pool of water. Narcissist, it's very interesting, that's a very subtly correct image, because narcissists are not obsessed with their true selves, which they hate, okay? They loathe themselves, their true selves. They are instead obsessed with a false self, a false reflection, which is their own creation. For various and sundry reasons, self-loathing kicks in, and we'll discuss some of these dynamics in a minute. And so in their minds, they create a false fantasy self, and then their lifelong task is to project that false self onto the world and to almost soothe their own self-loathing by pretending that they are the false self. So here's the picture of Narcissus. This is a particularly beautiful painting, I think. And there he is staring into the pool of water at his reflection. And I want to make a point about Narcissus himself. Look at the real Narcissus. Look at his body. He's a beautiful boy. A lot of these people who are tricked into self-loathing by demonic oppression are gloriously beautiful people, just resplendently beautiful people. But once that self-loathing kicks in, it just all bets are off. And it doesn't matter how beautiful the true self is. If they hate the true self, then this false self emerges, and then just everything goes crazy. Now, there are two main species of pathological narcissists: somatic narcissist and cerebral narcissist. Somatic means body. So what we're talking about with somatic narcissists are people who are obsessed with their physical body, with their appearance, and also with sexual prowess. That all ties into somatic narcissism. That is actually what people think of most when they hear the word narcissism. Someone who, because it's the image of looking into a mirror, they're always thinking about someone who is obsessed with their body, their face, whatever. That's just half the story. The other category of narcissist is called a cerebral narcissist. This is a narcissist whose obsession and whose false self revolves not at all around his body, but around his intellect, okay? And that is a completely different can of worms. First, somatic narcissists. They are obsessed with body and image, sexual performance. Many athletes and entertainers, as one would expect, are somatic narcissists. Many bodybuilders, not all, but many, and all homosexual bodybuilders. Every single homosexual bodybuilder, I can tell you right now, is a somatic narcissist. Fashionistas, people who are involved in the fashion industry and are their entire lives are completely wrapped up by clothing and so forth. The black culture today, what I call the rap hip-hop culture, complete somatic narcissism. It's somatic narcissism, but it's somatic narcissism just dumbed down. It's somatic narcissism for people whose IQs are in the 80s. And yes, you're darn right, I just said that. In fact, I'll say it again in case there was any confusion. The black hip-hop culture is a culture of somatic narcissism dumbed down, catering to people whose IQs are in the 80s. You may quote me on that. Please be sure to spell my name correctly if you do. That is the truth, and I have no fear of saying it. And I guess right now the most specific micro example of somatic narcissist is this phenomenon of these Kardashian people. These people are obviously diabolically evil somatic narcissist, and probably, in my opinion, the worst among them is the mother, a woman who has pimped out her own children, who has encouraged her own beautiful children to mutilate their bodies with, injections and plastic surgery in order to, inflate their backsides and things like this. A woman who has encouraged all of this truly despicable behavior and enabled all this in order to make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars off of it. Kris Kardashian, in my opinion, is one of the most despicable human beings on the planet, and she is the quintessence of a diabolical somatic narcissist. Now, cerebral narcissism. Many of these people, not all of them, but many of them are actual bona fide geniuses. They are, in fact, brilliant, and some of them are even approaching, savant-level type intelligence. They are not people, the type of savant that's like the retarded savant, as in the movie with Dustin Hoffman, Rain Man. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. These people are extremely highly functioning, extremely charming when they want to be. You would never pick them out just instantaneously. You would just see them as being these resplendent intellects. Now, there are other cerebral narcissists who are obsessed with their intellects and who think that they're geniuses, but are not. An example that comes to mind right off the top of my head, Joe Biden. Joe Biden thinks that he is a super genius, and he is teetering on the precipice of mental retardation, but he honestly thinks that he's a genius. In my opinion, Jorge Bergoglio, Pope Francis, thinks that he is a super genius and gives every indication of being a dimwit. But a lot of the people in this cerebral narcissist class are, in fact, of above average intelligence, if not genius or borderline savant level intelligence. A dynamic that happens with cerebral narcissism in particular, and especially in terms of extremely intelligent children, is the deification of children. In doing my research about this, I heard an anecdote from someone that I was corresponding with that they have a cerebral narcissist in their family, and he was so intelligent as a child, he was so brilliant as a child that A, he was never behaviorally corrected, but B, the parents actually took to calling him, and I'm going to make up a name, let's say his name is George, actually took to calling him the Blessed George, and they weren't being tongue-in-cheek about it. This child was referred to as the Blessed George. If you have children that are of above average intelligence, it is absolutely essential that they are kept grounded and they are not deified and they are not told that they are in a separate category, superior and above everyone and everything else, even approaching saintliness or even being some sort of a demiurge. Do not do this. You will destroy an intelligent child. He will create a false self trying to live up to a standard that is impossible to meet, and then spend the rest of his life trying to project a false self, trying to justify this deification that he received as a child. Don't do this. We're going to talk more about the deification of children, because as you probably figured it out, isn't that exactly what we're doing to our children in schools right now? Aren't we just essentially taking all children and trying to deify them, trying to convince them that they are these precious little snowflakes, completely unique, who can do absolutely anything, and building up this completely false self-image that then crashes and burns and descends into this diabolical, malignant narcissism? Yes, we'll get to that later. Politicians tend to be cerebral narcissists, again, whether they're genuinely intelligent or not, and executives tend to be cerebral narcissists. They are recruited in this. The political class is recruiting these people. And if any of you are familiar with Mayuv, if you're familiar with what I call the Barnhart axiom, the Barnhart axiom states that in today's world, the fact that a given person is holding or seeking to hold high-level office is proof in and of itself that that person is morally and or psychologically unfit to hold high-level public office. It's a feedback loop on itself. This is what we're talking about because these people are diabolical narcissists, and that is what is recruited